writing is a control. So
Yeah.
in that moment that I'm writing, I'm in control weirdly, and I can control, because I think the world is so massive, and my brain works quite quickly, and I take on a lot of information a lot of the time, and
Yeah.
sometimes that's not always a good thing. I can be a bit of an information junkie. So when I write, I actually feel like I'm in control. So I actually have to write every day. It's almost a compunction, you know?
Yeah. And it seems like there's a bit of discipline there. So I remember hearing Dan Brown at the Web Summit a couple of years ago, and
Yeah.
he was saying he was very disciplined. He was a teacher as well. And he used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, write for 2 hours, then cycle to the school for 45 minutes or something like that.
Yeah.
And then be very disciplined in the approach. And I remember Roald Dahl had his own routine where he had a little cabin out the back, or a little hut out the back of his house, a small little tiny shed or a room, if you wanted to call that. And it was typical Roald Dahl. It was, you know, that gorgeous kind of aesthetic look to it. But he had a big chair he used to slump down into, and he used to bring over a little writing table and a cup of tea and 20 cigarettes, and off he went. You know, so I'm not saying that you have the cup of tea and the 20 cigarettes, but what is your way of tapping into that creativity to, I suppose, to create that writing discipline or routine?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. You have to be disciplined. You have to turn up at the desk, because it's an intrinsic thing. It's an intrinsic motivation, you know. And I'm always really impressed with people who are motivated like that they have an internal motivation that doesn't come from any other, any outside push. You know, nobody's pushing me to do this. And actually, my mother said that to me one day. I said, I was absolutely wiped out. And she said, well, no one's forcing you to do this. And she was making a very valid point, but I was kind of going, oh, mother, it's far more complicated than that. But I have my desk here. This is the kitchen. I'm in the kitchen of my house. It's an open plan kitchen, but I have my back to the wall. That's important. This is weird now, but this is really important. I have to have my back to this wall, and I look out on the field. So I grew up in this house, and then I bought this house when I was in my 20s. And there's something about that I that's very important to my process.
Okay.
And going back to Dan Brown, actually, so I did the jump from poetry to the novel, and that came about. This is a funny story, actually. That came about when I was doing a tour in Canada with the poems. I was reading at a very lovely poetry festival in Ottawa. And the guy that was introducing four of us, three other amazing writers got up before me. So, you know, I was third or fourth, and they'd won Pulitzer Prizes and Booker Prizes. And one guy was actually Raul Zarita, a Chilean poet. He was tipped to win the Nobel Prize. And then they introduced me and they said, and Elaine Feeney is from Galway and she has two sons, Jack and Finn. And I said, oh, lads,